Dyaneshwar Padwal of KIFS TradeCapital joining in as well. Dyaneshwar, a very good afternoon to you. Like Piyush was pointing out, things are looking quite tricky at the moment. You know, we closed out last week on a stronger note, but we've given up most of those gains in trade today. We're down about 1% at the moment. We're in fact just a few points off day's low on the Nifty. What become the key levels that you're keeping in mind on the Nifty, on the Bank Nifty as well?
Yeah, good afternoon. If you look at the overall chart structure of Nifty, so we have seen that the Nifty has posted a high of 11,800 and we have seen the profit booking from the level of 11,800 towards the 11,400. And after that, we have seen a very good pullback towards the 61.8% of Fibonacci retracement of the previous fall. And again, we have seen that the renewed weakness is clearly observed on the chart. And if you go to the lower time frame charts on mainly on hourly, so we have got the intermediate trend line breakdown. But if you can look at the selling side, so right now the risk reward ratio is not favorable, so I could suggest 11,400 would be a great support. So if you wanted to go for a short selling, so traders should watch out the level of 11,500, 11,520 by keeping a stop loss of 11,570. And in case of Bank Nifty, we have seen that the mirroring the key benchmark index, Bank Nifty was also oscillating in an escalating channel, where we got the breakdown of the escalating channel, and Bank Nifty has posted a low near about 27,180 odd level, and 27,000 could be seen as a very strong support. So if Bank Nifty comes to 27,000, so that could be a great buying opportunity.
Dyaneshwar, let's talk about the stocks that are in focus this afternoon. We have to talk about the two Bajaj Finance twins because there's a big cut coming in both on Bajaj Finance as well as Bajaj Finserv. What's your sense on both of these counters right now? And really, would this correction be a buying opportunity as far as these two charts go?
Yeah, good afternoon, Deepanshu.
Okay, a bit of an issue with Dyaneshwar's line, but we will just try and reconnect with him. But look at the NBFCs, because as Piyush was also highlighting for us, across the NBFC space, you are seeing significant pressure in trade right now. So, of course, the two Bajaj Finance twins are taking a big knock in trade. Also pull up something like a Cholamandalam, there you go, a 2.5% cut on that counter. There have been divergent brokerage views that have come in on a Cholamandalam in particular. MK is bullish, but Credit Suisse is negative. In fact, Credit Suisse for most NBFCs is saying that liquidity needs are rising for NBFCs, and the concern of rising inflation and twin deficits will squeeze liquidity. Also, because of the bond yields at a 4-year high right now, that is going to add to the pain as far as cost of funds go. IFL has downgraded Chola to an underperform and sees lower margins ahead. This is Credit Suisse, sorry, which has downgraded Chola to an underperform and sees lower margins ahead for IFL, Chola, L&T Finance, as well as LIC Housing Finance. But Dyaneshwar, getting back to you, Bajaj Finance twins, what's the call on both of those charts right now?
Yeah, good afternoon, Deepanshu. If you look at the Bajaj Finance overall chart structure, in 2018, we have seen that the Bajaj Finance has posted a very spectacular rally towards the north and really surprised the market and marked the positive alpha by outperforming the key benchmark index. And it has given a escalating channel breakout near about 2,500, and stock has posted a high near about 3,000 level. And recently, it has given a correction of near about 400 points. And if you look at the overall chart structure, if the Bajaj Finance comes to near the level of 2,550, so that could be a great buying opportunity, I could say.
Dyaneshwar, just coming on Axis Bank, of course, you know, it had been seeing quite a bit of pressure. That said, we're back at life highs, in fact, just off it after the kind of move that we saw earlier today. Axis Bank at 650, do you see this as an opportunity?
Yeah, of course. If you look at the overall higher time frame charts on the Axis Bank, so recently we have seen that the Axis Bank has given a pennant breakout, and you know it is sustaining about 630, 640 odd level. So if the stock is coming towards the 630 level, so that could be seen as a great buying opportunity for an initial leg of up move towards the 720, 750.
All right, that's on the NBFCs. Dyaneshwar, we spoke on Bajaj Finance, but I mean, look at the cuts that are coming across the NBFC space. Look at IIFL, look at India Bulls Housing Finance, Chola that we just spoke about, LIC Housing also. You had seen a smart recovery happen in LIC Housing lately, but again, under pressure right now. And similarly for an L&T Finance, another one of those stocks that had seen a smart recovery, but under extreme pressure in trade today. Any of these charts that look good as a short-term shorting idea?
Yeah, if you look at the Dipanshu, if you look at the overall NBFC sector, so we have seen that the all the stocks was moving into the unfolded into the corrective pattern, and wherein it has taken a Fibonacci retracement, and recently we have seen that the spectacular rally into the L&T Housing Finance, and from the level of 140, 150 odd level towards the 180, and recently we have seen that the stock has corrected towards the 58, 60 rupees. So I could say going short is not a great opportunity, because a bullish setup has been involved in that. So I could say buy on dips could be a great opportunity.
All right, buy on dips is a better strategy than going short. Same question then, Dyaneshwar, on the PSU banks. In fact, to address some flashes that you saw on the bottom of your screen, the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley is expected to call a review meeting with public sector banks on non-performing assets soon. Remember, this is a very, very crucial week for PSU banks. It's not just the yields that are putting pressure on the banks. This is, of course, when the extended deadline of the impact of that Feb 12 circular comes into effect. So banks are expected to push through quite a large quantum of bad loans to the NCLT. So that too is a negative trigger for the PSU banking space. And Dyaneshwar, we're seeing that pressure across the board. The entire index is, in fact, sectorally, that's why we're seeing the most amount of pressure on the screen at the moment. Where do you come in on PSU banks? What are you doing with individual names after the sort of cuts that we've seen?
Yeah, if you look at the overall sector of PSU bank, and if I consider a relative rotation graph, so it tells that the earlier PSU banks was moving in a lagging quadrant, and recently we have seen that the PSU bank has shifted from lagging quadrant to the improving quadrant, where the relative strength has been improved, but relative momentum is very less. But I could say in that quadrant, shorting opportunity is not good for the stocks.
Dyaneshwar, let's talk about some of these names. And HCL Tech, it's the top gainer on the Nifty. It's in gains about 1.5%. We also have the likes of Wipro and Infosys that are participating, but ever so slightly. What is looking interesting to you on the charts as far as some of these larger IT names go? And if you look at the smaller names as well, where do your preferences lie?
Yeah, if you look at the overall IT sector, so we have seen that in 2018, IT sector has given a very spectacular rally, and it has really surprised the market by forming a vertical wave towards the north. And in case of IT sector, we have seen that the leader like an Infosys and TCS are already posted their gains, and simultaneously followed by the mid-cap IT. So in that mid-cap IT, Tech Mahindra is looking good, because recently we have seen that the vertical wave formation of in case of Tech Mahindra, and recently the stock has moved in a consolidation. So if bulls manage to take out the 780 level, so we may see the bulls take the stocks towards the 850 level. So traders can keep a stop loss of 760 on a closing basis for an initial leg of up move towards the 850.
Tech Mahindra, one of those charts that Dyaneshwar is betting on. Which other stocks are on your radar this afternoon, Dyaneshwar? Any buy ideas, or in fact any shorting ideas that you have right now?
Yeah, in case of shorting idea, I would go for ACC, because recently we have seen that the overall cement sector has given a pullback, but that pullback has not been sustained. In case of ACC, recently we have seen that the rally from the 1300 towards the 1650, and the profit taking has been seen towards the 1500, and the stock was consolidating in the range of 1550 to 1630 for 2 to 3 days, and the renewed weakness is clearly observed in today's trading session. So one can go short in ACC by keeping a stop loss of near about 1580 odd level for an initial leg of a down move towards the 1450.
Dyaneshwar, come in on all three charts. If you look at a Bajaj Auto versus a TVS Motors, a Hero MotoCorp, all three had been beaten down quite significantly after the first quarter. Then we've seen a good month, a fairly good month come in for the likes of a Bajaj Auto. Do you expect any sort of opportunities if you get in at current levels in either of these three charts?
Yeah, if you look at the overall Bajaj Auto chart structure, so it was unfolded into the corrective pattern, and wherein it has on the verge of completion of the corrective move, and recently we have seen that the gap of opening into the Bajaj Auto the day before yesterday, and the gap has been created near about 28. Near about 2810 towards the 2020. So I could probably see that the in coming days the stock is managed to close the gap. So that could be a great buying opportunity. So traders can enter into the level of 2800 or 2810 by keeping a stop loss of 2760 on a closing basis for an initial leg of up move towards the 3100.
Fundamentals and technicals looking good for a Bajaj Auto. That stock is up about 10% in the last 1 hour. That really is the last couple of weeks that has seen a strong rally on that counter. Dyaneshwar, Max Financial Services, I'm not sure if you've taken a look at this chart, hasn't really done much in the last year or in fact last couple of years. But today you are seeing a strong move in that counter, 6.5% jump coming in. Is this just a one-day thing or do you see a trading opportunity here?
Yeah, Dipanshu. Well, if you talk about the Max Financial, so recently, past 3 months, we have seen that the stock has taken a support of 400, 420, and went to the 530. So I could probably see 530 would be a very strong resistance for the Max Financial. If traders wanted to do a trading for a 1 or 2 day perspective, so they can go long in this counter by keeping a stop loss of 490, and ultimately the target would be on 530. If bull managed to take out the 530 level and stock managed to close above this level, then only we can see a probable target towards the 600 level.
Dyaneshwar, any other stocks that have caught your eye just before we wind down today's session? Maybe something like a Havells, which is down about 4.5–5% right now.
Yes, Dipanshu, if you go for an BTST, so I could preferably advise that the GNFCs was unfolded into the corrective pattern, and recently we have seen that the bulls has strengthened the rally from last 3 days, and currently stock is trading at 400. So I could say by keeping a stop loss of 395, one can go for BTST for an initial leg of up move towards the 410, 412.
Dyaneshwar, very quickly, some of these mid-cap pharma names are still holding out. Natco Pharma, for example, Glenmark Pharma, also some news flow related move over there. GSK Pharma, where do your preferences lie as far as mid-cap pharma goes?
If you look at the mid-cap pharma, so we have seen that today the stock has performed, but bulls could not sustain the rally towards the day's high, and all the profit taking has been seen. So in that space, I could go for the.
But Dyaneshwar, just some closing comments from you then. Going ahead from here, we'll of course have to see how global cues pan out and what kind of a reaction we'll see in trade tomorrow. But what really is the sense that you get in terms of key levels to watch at the index level?
Yeah, if you look at the index level, so already we have seen that the 11,400 could be a very strong support. So if bears manage to surpass the 11,400 level, so we may see the probably bears take the indices towards the 11,200, 11,100 level.
All right, that's the level to watch out for on the Nifty. Dyaneshwar, 11,500 was 520 was being spoken of as a strong support. You've broken that quite convincingly in trade today. Just in terms of what if we do break that 11,350, maybe 11,300 mark, do you see stronger selling pressure coming in on the street? It is a truncated week. Markets may look to consolidate after this kind of a sell-off. But what's the sense if you have another 150 point fall on the markets?
Yes, Dipanshu, of course, if you look at the options data, we have seen that the 11,500 put option having a highest open interest. So that was a support for the Nifty. And recently we have seen that Nifty has broken that level that was in support and sustained below the 11,500. But if you look at the current market price, shorting opportunity would not be advisable because risk reward ratio is not favorable. So I could say any pullback towards the 11,500, 11,520 level. So that could be seen as a great opportunity by keeping a stop loss of 11,570. And if you talk about the level of 11,350, so major support would be at the level of 11,400. If bears manage to surpass that level, so we may probably see the rally towards the 11,100 or might be an 11,000.